hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
We have passed the halfway point of the season. From here, you've laid the foundation of your championship. What kind of house will our drivers build out of it? We'll find out as we get ready to watch the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is TDI Cup alumni Joey Atterbury. Joey, it's time to sink or swim at the Great Salt Lake.
Yeah, no, it is going to be green flag here momentarily once we get these cars rolling out onto this beautiful facility that we've got just outside of Salt Lake City here in Utah. About 40 minutes outside of downtown, you are going to find a 23-turn, 4.48-mile facility known as Burt Brothers Motorpark out here, and we're going to be using about 15 of those apexes known as the outer layout. 3.048 miles is what these Porsches are going to be doing this weekend. Couple key areas to note. Turn number one, good passing opportunity, but we also saw cars getting out of shape in qualifying in that section of the racetrack. look towards turn number 5 for another great passing location. You got to get hard on the brakes in order to make that apex. Then look towards the attitudes. That is where the drivers are going to be attacking the racetrack, attacking the curbs up and over that section. And then through sector number 3, the final turn, turn 23, you better focus on that exit, Joe, because it leads you out onto this long front straightaway.
Certainly going to be a critical part of the lap all throughout the race. As for the starting order for today's event, well, it is Matthew Siegel who has come in and made a splash with the pole position. Brandon Hankins going to be starting to his outside. That's for the Pro-Ams. And then Scott Blend starts on the pole for the Masters. He'll be third overall. Daniel Hanley will be P4 today to his outside. Another of our Pro-Ams. Mark Wilgus, Pro-Am as well. He'll be fifth overall. Then it's the other of our Masters with James Larkin starting sixth overall. And rounding out our 992 Cup cars, it will be Mark Krigler starting from seventh, Joey.
Yeah, and then we've got our Cayman class cars. Your pole sitter in that Masters class is Tom Rogers in the number 44. He is going to be sharing row number 1 with Greg Herback, lined up in P2 in that number 49 car. Then our Pro-Am pole sitter is Jack Perriott back here in 13th, in the number 13, starting third overall, with Tim Smith starting in fourth next to him right here. Henry Marshall is going to be starting fifth overall in the Caymans, lined up alongside David Bradshaw starting in the sixth place position.
That's our 13 cars going racing here today. Joey, this is a track that does not show up on schedules as often anymore. What are going to be some of the critical aspects to coming home with a flag?
From what we saw in qualifying, I think that turn number 1, you got to nail turn number 1. We saw some cars kind of get out of shape, call it through the middle of the corner and on the exit there. So rule number 1, you got to survive turn number 1 in order to get to the checkered flag. And where we see the cars right now, that's through the attitudes. The drivers are going to have to be inch perfect through that section. You really have to attack the apex curbs. And it's not just one apex curb, it's about 3 apex curbs as the drivers kind of go barreling through that section. And then, of course, like I had mentioned, Sector 3 down here, Joe, this is actually the most technical of the entire racetrack. It's all going to be about the driver staying on line through here. If you're offline, it could provide an opportunity for that passing.
All right, so we'll watch out for those aspects as the Yokohama blimp takes us around the final section through windup and into release. When they're released from the safety car, who is going to be leading down into turn 1? Will Siegel be able to come away with that lead he should be starting with as they wait patiently for the call from the flag stand? You can see it will be a split start between the two types of cars out there to give themselves some space all the way up to the line. And there is the green flag. It's a decent start from Siegel as Hankins tries to challenge him. But here comes Blend. Remember, he's looking for overall here, so he's not fighting for them for points positions, but it is a great start coming down into turn 1. He's going to try and take that inside away, but it looks like he is chopped off into the first corner as Siegel will hold on.
Yeah, and there you see the Cayman class get through turn number 1 themselves, and now the field starts to stretch out for third. It is still side by side as we come up to what is turn number 4 and 5 up here. This is going through workout and then screaming. You see that car, I believe that Siegel still in the lead right now, almost dipping those tires out into the dirt, but he is firmly in control out front.
Don't want to get too much into that loose dirt and sand. You're going to be flying for a while out there for sure. And it's a long road back onto the course as they come down through knockout and right hooks. So it's certainly going to be an interesting one here with that front group with Blend now up into P2, separating Daniel Hanley, who has also jumped Hankins, started on that front row, fallen to fourth here. It has not been a good start. However, Tom Rogers picks up where he left off. He's still leading Herback there down in the Caymans.
That was a great shot right there of the cars attacking those curbs that I was mentioning through that attitude section. And now our top three trying to break it away just a little bit. You see Wilgus and I believe that's Hankins there in that 4th and 5th spot. They are really, really close as we enter what is sector number 3 here on the racetrack. You just got to keep your car right on the racing line through here. Come up to this final corner, and Joe, this final corner actually has a little bit of camber in it, helping those cars really dig that front right into the track.
Need to get that throttle down as soon as you can. Here's a pretty good run from Hanley. Remember, he needs to get by Blend to try and get into that P2 to fight for the win here. So first lap is done. What's going to happen down into turn 1? Just not close enough for Daniel, and Blend will hold on to that second place. A very good start for Scott. That seems to be kind of his MO from what we've seen most races. He's very good at the opening.
Well, not only that, but he's excellent with the racecraft as well. So when you put him in these situations where you might have a car like right here of Hanley approaching in that rear view mirror, this is a fantastic run from our 3rd place car, the 243. That's the red and black car. It's going to look to the inside, but Blend is just so confident on the brakes, Joe. That comes to being a ton of seat time inside these chassis. We've seen him throughout this season. He's competing in nearly every single session. He knows the performance window on these cars.
In fact, we had some information on him competing, I think, in all of the North American Cup Series that's available to him, essentially. So that's why he's decided to come out here. He only missed, essentially, Spring Mountain in terms of the season so far. So just about really putting himself on the line for everything possible. So, yeah, I'll dig that up in a bit here under my notes, but it certainly has been interesting seeing just how much he's been able to really get into the cockpit and also be competitive in the process. Looks like we have a pretty decent battle going on for second back there in the Caymans based on our tower there. Just half a second separating Herback and Smith, and then Smith to Perriott as Rogers tries to run away by about 2.5 seconds up there.
Think that top 3 in the Caymans is always going to be fast between Rogers, Herback, and Smith. Like you said, Perriott is also kind of thrown in the mix right there. So consider it, a top 4 right now, trying to break away from the rest of the field, which is Marshall and Bradshaw a little bit further back as our 992 Cup cars feed their way once again into turn number 1. And quite honestly, it seems like probably the top 5 cars or so in this 992 GT3 Cup field are all pretty evenly matched right now, about half second, maybe a 3/4 of a separating second separating each one of the cars on the racetrack.
And we're having to get a little bit used to this yellow car in front because typically it is Scott Blend who has a bright yellow machine, but he has swapped to a different car, actually rented a different car for this weekend to help make this event happen. Here we're on board with him. So he's now not what you see in that top part of your screen. He is in a black and silver car instead here, this 245, chasing what looks a lot like his typical colors in Seagull. So he's keeping them honest, Joey. And again, like I said, if I know Scott, I think he wants this overall win. He wants to show what he can do regardless of class.
Well, I think I'm curious really what's going through his mind right now, because I know if I was out there, I'd say, yeah, that car in front does look a lot like the cars that I used to drive or usually drive. Maybe is there a little bit more green, maybe a little bit more purple that I can add to my car, maybe differentiate it a little bit, because it's got to be odd looking at essentially one of your race cars directly in front of you, or at least one that looks very similar.
Exactly. In the meantime, Hanley's been a little bit frustrated by this. It's still early in the race. It's 35 minutes plus a lap for these events, so we're only about 5 minutes and some change into this one. And Hanley has been nothing but separated from Seagull by Blend this entire race. In fact, it looks like Scott losing a little touch this time by to that number 267. And Hanley now watching his class leader stretch away. He does not want to let too much ground be put between himself and that yellow car, because that is for points. And Hanley has been running a pretty good season so far. I actually need to check and see what his last results looked like, because he had a first and a third back at COTA. He's on a good run here with 3 podiums in a row, actually.
You just kind of mentioned everybody kind of still being grouped together here. Looking at these lap times, I think that there's actually a little bit of performance left out there on the racetrack. Now, our leader out there, Matthew Siegel, he qualified at a 152.74, and that last lap time from him in that number 267 car was actually a 155.2. Now, obviously, different fuel loads between qualifying and the race, but that kind of stands out to me, Joe. It could be a difference in temperature that we're seeing out in Utah, just a little bit warmer here in the afternoon than what we saw in the qualifying session a little bit earlier in the day. But it also could be these drivers just getting everything up to temperature nice and easy and then going about their rhythm out there on the racetrack. But plain and simple, I do think that these cars have a little bit more performance left in them.
Also, should note that that battle for third overall in the 992 Cup cars is significant because it is Hanley versus Hankins in the Pro-Am Championship. Hanley leading by 7 points right now over Brandon Hankins. And Hankins was able to beat Hanley to the line at the second race at COTA, but had a bad end of the first one, winding up having to settle for fourth position there. So Hankins lost some ground on that one, gained just a little bit back, but needs those precious few points. And interestingly, first to second is separated by 6 points in accordance to what you score out there. So I suspect that it could be tight if they wind up catching and chasing Siegel. But as it stands right now, if they finish where they are, it's going to be actually, it looks like, another 6 points, between second and third.
When it comes down to those championships, it is all about staying consistent out there on the racetrack. Sometimes it is not your best day that can actually win you those championship titles. It can be your worst day out there on the racetrack, and how well you're able to cope with getting along on not such a fun afternoon on the racetrack. But in terms of Matthew Siegel right now, everything is going smoothly for this yellow number 267 out front. He is being kept honest by Scott Blend there, sitting in second place, and then also Hanley and Hankins in that third and fourth, just right there in line. I had mentioned that it's kind of equal gaps right now between the top five. It's kind of ditched now to the top four. Mark Wilgus starting to fall back just that little bit there. He's about, call it 3.5 seconds off of this group on our top four. So just have to wait to see how this develops over the next 25 minutes plus one lap. See if one of these drivers can maybe figure out a corner a little bit better than another and start to close in this fight up at the front.
It certainly looks like it's a bit of a stalemate at this stage, the way that they can't seem to quite get close enough to one another. And we have heard when we've had Ashley Freiberg up in the booth that she said these cars do put off a bit of a wake. So I wonder if maybe they're experiencing just a bit of that, since there are a lot of medium and high speed corners around this track. So one more note on Hankins and his title run so far. Has not won in class yet this season. So Hankins still looking for that top step of the podium.
Back to that comment that you had said about the dirty air and the medium speed corners, you are 100% spot on here with this motor park out here in Utah, because yeah, we do have a lot of, call it medium speed corners, medium to high speed sweeping corners, especially through Sector 1 and Sector 2 here at the motor park. So if we're going to see any dirty air be kicked up from the aerodynamic devices, the splitters, the floor, the rear wing, the diffusers on these cars, it will happen here, and it will be most readily visible, at least to the human eye, to see that. And looks like we're getting a shot of our Cayman GT4 battle right now. I think this is Herbeck, Smith, and Perriott, the trio.
Ooh, so this is closed in quite a bit as these three are battling for that second spot. Now, remember, Perriott is not fighting them for points. He is running in the Pro-Am. He's the only one in that class this weekend. So he's essentially just racing for pride out there, which is still going to be hugely important in the early career of this young driver. And like I keep saying, he's been impressing us recently. This is getting close, though, between Smith and Herbeck, and a little bit dangerously near that rear wing of Greg Herback. They've obviously lost touch with Tom Rogers, but that's not too great of a shock because Tom has actually won the last 3 races. He has been on an absolute streak.
We were talking about it in qualifying, and I think really it's kind of been the Rogers, Herback, Smith breakaway with the Cayman GT4s, and Jack Parrott has come such a long way here in just the first few rounds of the season. I'm super happy to see that number 13 car, that white and green, call it the caboose on this 3-car train, now joining this lead fight. But you're right. I think Tom Rogers has kind of asserted himself up at the front of the field and said, hey, you know what, you're going to have to come and catch me the rest of the season. But these 3 drivers, they're constantly improving. Got to remember, Herback used to be a downhill skier, so he knows how to hit apexes. He knows how to execute a race. Tim Smith, well, I mean, that guy used to be a fighter jet pilot. I mean, it doesn't get any cooler than that. So if you're looking for some drivers to hunt down Tom Rogers out front, I mean, we're sitting riding on board with the 3 that can right now.
Watching from Perriott down into turn 1. Got a nice little toe here, but I don't think he's quite close enough. Just shows his nose a tiny little bit on the turn and much better down to the apex, or at least earlier down to the apex behind Tim Smith. And then it weaves back and forth into Dreamboat once again. Little bit of a rise in the track here. I actually had the chance to get a ride around this circuit last year when we were here with Elliot Forbes Robinson and the safety car. And it is actually a pretty entertaining ride around this track.
I mean, anytime you get to be in any sort of high-performance vehicle, let alone one of these Porsche GT cars out here, or even cooler, one of the race cars, it is an amazing experience to go for a right seat ride. Even cooler if you get to hop in the driver's seat and control the roller coaster ride yourself. But speaking of that ride, it seems like Tim Smith right now is starting to close it in just that little bit more on Herback directly in front of him. So they're about to pop up through the attitudes right now. Oh, that's a spin with our cup cars. Got to be careful because now he's re-entering the racetrack right in front of that Cayman battle that we were just watching, Joe.
That's Larkins. I think he's finally starting to get it going, but this could be the opportunity that Smith has been looking for. A slightly distracted Herback could maybe open the door for him. It will depend on how quickly Larkins is able to run away from them. How dirty are the tires? Is the car damaged in any way? That was up into the attitudes. He was facing the wrong way, but it didn't look like he had made contact with the wall from where his car was sitting. He'll definitely be able to run away a little bit better coming down the main straight. A little correction there from Jack Perriott coming through windup.
Yeah, you're spot on. I don't think that he made it all the way out to the wall out there in the attitudes. So I think that Larkins will be able to kind of just continue. And yeah, you bring up an excellent point with making sure that your equipment is clean, talking about Rogers, Herback, Smith, everybody else who's following Perriott, because you do have a car that was just off track, came right back on track. Smith a little bit wide there in turn number 1. That provided an open door for Perriott there, that 3rd car in line, but thankfully he was able to kind of get back on the racing line and accelerate through the back half of turn number 1. So as now we see that cup car accelerate away, it's the 3-pack battle. And if anything, Joe, it's actually closed up even more.
It's not too great of a shock with them kind of getting interrupted briefly by James there. And yeah, that's the 2nd lap in a row that we saw Tim try to really go wide on the entry. And this time, I don't think that was a wide entry. I think that was just plain wide by the Blue Angel coming down through Black Rock Hairpin, but didn't lose the position once again. You always talk about learning opportunities. If you're put in the shoes of Jack Perriott and you're watching this through your windscreen, what are you picking up?
I'm picking up 2 cars fighting it out right now, and we know that Tim Smith can be aggressive on the racetrack and making those moves. So I would say that if I am Jack Parrott, I'm just trying to close that gap up to that Blue Angel machine, which is, of course, that number 70, of course, this blue and gold machine with the black front end. Because if you can start to apply the pressure to Tim, it might make him a little bit more desperate, right? It might make him a little bit more aggressive in terms of the moves, trying to get by Herback in front of him. And that could provide you that open door that you yourself need to get the position. So all it comes down to is putting the pressure on the car in front of you. See if you can make that pass sooner than they can.
And he seems to be good at putting that pressure on into the braking of Sunset Bend and as well into Black Rock. So let's see what happens this time as we ride on board. Will he see the door open up just a little bit coming down into this heavy braking zone? 137, 140, 145 miles an hour, 150. 153 where we top out. And yeah, it's there as the car complains under the braking, trying to get down to that apex. He makes it, but it looks like he was not quite quick enough to get underneath him.
I might have found one of the reasons why Tim Smith was a little bit wider in turn number one there these last handful of laps, because when we see Perriott, he's actually running over those bumps low on the line in turn number one. I wonder if Tim is just simply trying to avoid those bumps out here, keep the chassis nice and smooth on the racetrack.
Seems like maybe a little bit tough to be smooth into that first turn, as once again, Tim recovers and gets right back underneath Herback. But Herback has been a pretty cool customer considering his lack of experience. This is only his second season as a professional race car driver. As you mentioned, his background more in downhill ski racing. But he's done a very good job really adapting to this and also learning how to deal with that pressure from behind. Ooh, this could be a good opportunity there as it was looking very close for Perriott behind Tim.
Yeah, and once again, Tim a little bit wide there through what is Tuella turn number 19 on this racetrack. It's just that sometimes if you go a little bit wide in terms of the beginning half of the corner, you can still kind of capitalize on the back half of the corner. So one thing that is saving Tim Smith right now is that he is at least getting it down to a minimum speed at that apex and then able to launch off the corner. But you're right, Joe. Every single corner entry, Perriott has the nose right there.
Making sure that there can be no slip-ups. This is for the overall podium. Perriott not going to take a point away, but would definitely be a blow to the ego of Tim Smith here. This young driver managing to get by him. Both of them going through. That would be a boon as well to the young driver of Jack Perriott if he can manage to get by them. No change over in the 992 Cup cars at this stage. We've been covering some of the best action on track between these three. It is still Siegel leading Blind, leading Hanley. Your top three, Hankins not able to get onto that podium or into second in class, I should say, up in the Cup cars. In the meantime, we've jumped back to Blend. Ooh, there was a big correction there. But as we look out the front, it looked like he wasn't quite on top of Siegel as he's lost by about 3.5 seconds. Back to Perriott once again, watching just these two in front of him. Oh, so close, just tempting him to try and get his nose in there.
And if we look at kind of the storylines of the race, I'm actually going to put Jack Perriott as probably number one here. I mean, how much have we seen this driver progress up through the races so far this year to be kind of duking it out with the top podium guys right now? I think, Joe, that if Jack can get a pass done on Tim Smith, and even if he can get one done on Herback, if he can get by both of these guys, it's pretty much like a race win here for Jack. Even if he can just get by Tim, I think that's positive momentum, especially to carry into the race tomorrow.
Without a doubt. And they're not anywhere near Tom Rogers at this stage, unfortunately. Looks like Larkin's a bit up the road working on trying to get his lap back from him, or at least overall position back from the Cayman to get back to fighting with his own Cup cars there. That was another good run. And I guess that's the good thing that Jack can take out of this, Joey, is that he seems to be pretty strong coming out of release. Just doesn't seem to be able to get that final little bit that'll get him a chance to try and attack.
Well, let's see about turn number one if Tim slides a little bit wide here again. And yeah, he's just call it maybe half a car width off of the inside line there in turn number one. But if we draw back to qualifying earlier in the day, it wasn't just the Caymans, but we saw one of the 992 GT3 Cup cars get a little bit out of shape right there. I wonder if there's just a series of bumps that some of the drivers are simply trying to avoid by opening up the wheel just that little bit there in turn number one. And That's what we've been seeing Tim Smith do, but seems like he's got it under control. He's plenty comfortable. And then some alternate lines through turn number 5 here. Once again, I'm not too surprised to see that. If you look at turn number 5 on a track map, it is not just a simple hairpin. It actually kind of continues a long way around to the driver's left-hand side. So I think there's a few alternate different ways to kind of enter that corner, depending on where everybody is on the racetrack in front of you.
Yeah, it's a double apex for sure. It's got a little kink on the way out of it there at Black Rock that we've seen last year offered up some opportunities if drivers just slid that little bit too wide as they bound over the curbs through the attitudes and back down the hill towards the Tuella turn. And then it's a bit of a stretch here where you've got some acceleration towards Clubhouse, but nobody seems to really be able to get close enough to try and use this decently heavy braking zone to get by someone there. And then it slows up into the double hairpins of wind up and release. Now, what I'm curious to watch for is they're about a minute behind our overall leader. So I think our overall leader will get some of the traffic at the back of the pack of these Caymans. But if he catches these guys, it's going to be probably at the very, very end of the race. And that could throw a cat amongst the pigeons.
It definitely could. It could either close in this group, or it could definitely just kind of break everything loose in terms of the racecraft. All of a sudden, the drivers are having to look in the rearview mirror for faster class cars approaching. So it just adds another variable for the drivers to deal with out there on the racetrack. And I know we've been talking about these 3 in the Cayman class here, Joe, but I mean, talk about one heck of a performance from our leader right now, Tom Rogers. I mean, we always try to give credit where credit is due. He has got a 17.5-second lead over Herback, this trio that we're watching. We've only done 11 laps out here. So you do the math, it is 1+ second per lap in terms of the gap that he is putting on the rest of the field.
Wow. Yeah, he backed up that qualifying time here in the race without a doubt. Like I said, Tom Rogers has come alive in this part of the season. It took him until the second race at Sonoma to finally get on the top step. But once he did that, he hasn't left it since then, won both races at Coda. And he's only been off the podium once so far. That was the second race at Spring Mountain, where he found himself finishing 4th there. Otherwise, he's been on the podium every other race this season. Interestingly, he is not our points leader in spite of that up to this point.
I think just give him a couple more races of this good consistency out here, and you'll see him up at the top of the points championship for sure. You see that he's got an incredibly lonely race. I had mentioned 17 seconds. Well, guess what? It is up to 18.5 seconds now. The gap between himself and Herback, who is pretty much now just coming through what is sector number 3 on the racetrack, and our leader is already braking for turn number 1. So, I mean, talk about a dominating performance from Tom Rogers. He's been getting faster and faster, but I think that today is a big celebration for him. He's putting his foot down on the field.
I think he's going to be proud of this one. Certainly one to write home about, showing the kind of speed that this 44 has. Getting all the way up to the edge of the track, just about dipping his wheels into the dirt there.
Yeah, I was just about to make a comment on the attitude of the car. You look at how he's driving. He hasn't lifted off at all. He is charging his way into these apexes, but he seems plenty comfortable. And what I really liked from those TV shots, did you see how beautifully this Porsche Cayman GT4 was riding over those curbs? That gives the driver confidence to attack the racetrack as he wants to, as he needs to get this lap time out of the car, because he knows that this Porsche Cayman GT4 underneath him is going to be able to bounce up over these curves with stability. It's not going to kick out sideways on him. He is going to have all the confidence in the world to do exactly what he needs to do here in Utah.
So will that carry on all the way to the end of the race is the other question on that one. Can't afford to make any mistakes from here. You got that lead, so don't get complacent. Keep focusing on the task at hand out there. Haven't seen much of a change over in the 992 Cup cars. Blend now about 6 seconds behind at Seagull. More critically, though, Hankins, who is racing for position, somewhere in the realm of about 8 seconds behind Matthew, who I'll have to double check. I feel like we have seen him at some previous rounds, potentially last year. In fact, it may have been this race that we saw Matthew show up. But regardless, Siegel has just been really hitting the ground running today as we hop on board with Perriott once more. And there's another big correction out of windup.
Yeah, there's a big snap of oversteer, but fast hands from our driver here that we're riding on board with was able to save the car from any excessive slide out there, got the rear tucked back in line and driving the car off of the corner. And now it is just all about sitting in the slipstream. You actually see he's closing it up just a little bit on Smith right in front of him. There's a potential move, almost outbraked himself into turn number 1. Thankfully, Jack was able to avoid Tim Smith directly in front of him, but because of it, loses a ton of track position.
He was going to be frustrated with himself over that one, especially if these two do start battling. And I wonder if maybe that's one of the things that is holding up Tim a little bit here. Like, he wanted to attack, but he didn't want to give Jack an opportunity to suddenly get into the mix and separate him from his rival. Now he's got a lot more chances to try and really go on the offensive and not have to worry about giving up a position in the process.
I'm sure that Tim Smith is hoping for a situational awareness page inside that Cayman GT4, just like how he had inside that Hornet of his for a while. Got to keep an eye out the front, got to keep an eye out the mirror in the back right now. But if anything, what's impressed me, Joe Peak, is look at how much Perriott has already closed it back in. I mean, he lost a ton of time in turn number 1, and here we are approaching the entrance of sector number 3, and he's already back on the battle.
I mean, that is definitely a testament to the pace that he does have, that he could probably unleash if he was freed up from behind these cars, but just doesn't seem to be able to get an opportunity to try and go on the attack. Also, an update, apologies, I was wrong. Tom Rogers is leading the points. I hadn't updated the overall score on my notes here. He's ahead of Greg Herback by about 14 points right now. Greg having just really been rolling in the consistent results with 4 second places. He's been so close to that win each and every time. Certainly not looking close this time, but that is looking a lot closer for Perriott. I think this is the closest we've seen him for some time.
Definitely, he is sitting in the slipstream right now. Remember, he outbraked himself into turn number 1 that last time. They both stay on the racing line. He closes it in. Smith kind of moves a little bit under braking contact from what I saw between the two there in turn number 1. They both stay on the racetrack right now, but Tim Smith has lost that draft from Herback directly in front. Perriott is in attack mode.
Let's not forget, this is race 1 of 2 for the weekend. So you're going to need that machine for tomorrow, so don't rough it up too much out there. Another good run. He could try and dive down the inside of Black Rock if he wants to take a go at it. Is he going to show himself? No, he stays on the racing line. He once again gets right up to that bumper, and again, it looked like they may have had a little bit of a touch.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of some chrome horn coming out from this white and green machine. I think Tim Smith took the middle of the road going into that turn number 5 hairpin on the brakes, and Jack kind of got up there. He didn't get into the back bumper in terms of outbraking himself into his competitor. Just kind of rolled into him at apex and said, hey, I see you parking it here at the apex. Let's kind of get a move on. I want to get by you.
Yeah, that really, I think, upset Tim Smith here because he's so much farther off of Greg Herback now, making himself vulnerable. Ooh, and coming down through the corner, there was another big look. So the patience has eroded, and Jack Perriott says, I would like to get by, sir. I want this overall position.
And he's been so good on the brakes. Now, yes, he did outbrake himself a couple laps ago going into turn number 1, but you got to wonder how much of it was this Blue Angels machine kind of taking up the apex directly in front of him. And so Jack actually kind of had to avoid the car. Let's see about the drive coming off of turn number 23. And as is last lap, this lap is even closer. So he's going to sit in the slipstream, Joe. Let's see if he can get it done in turn number 1 this time.
What did he learn from last time? Smith goes a little bit more defensive early, just trying to cover him off. And wow, very deep on the brakes, round the outside, using that banking, but the marbles have built up and he loses grip. That one didn't work, but I'm impressed with how many inroads he made through that corner. I didn't think he would get that far alongside.
He was really committed on the entry phase going into turn number 1, and he was already decided that he was not going to take the inside line. He was going to try to ride the outside around turn number 1, and it was actually a pretty close call there, but was able to manage that racecraft nicely. No contact this time in turn number 5 between Smith and Perriott that we are watching here on the big main screen. Tim Smith is being able to defend quite nicely right now, but like you said, Joe, how much of that patience is left inside the machine of the number 13?
So as we watch him continue to pressurize, we have to remember that this is a Jack Perriott coming off of a big accident back at Sonoma and rebounding really well. I'm honestly, I think it's a great thing to see that he hasn't let it really slowed him down, because I imagine that's kind of a big turning point for a lot of young drivers, Joey, that first big wreck that you have that could really rattle you.
Yeah, but like I was talking about in qualifying, you just got to get back into the race car. I always found that the race car was my happy place out there. So if I'm comfortable, that's where I want to be, is in my happy place. If it's a bad situation, like you just had a wreck, I think it's best to just get right back into the race car, get focused on what you need to do versus what has happened. And coming up with about 2 minutes plus 1 lap to go, I think I see our overall leader, Matthew Siegel, now approaching this Cayman GT4 battle.
I wondered if it was going to be right about around this time. For once, my math did not fail me, as he again slams on the brakes, and the car is not happy on that inside curb. There was so much sawing at the wheel, he might have well gone logging.
I mean, that was a highlight reel if I've ever seen one. I mean, it looked like 1 correction, 2 corrections, still up on the curb. Jack Perriott just catching the car. The Porsche doing a tremendous job staying predictable. And here, in fact, is our overall leader. So that is the number 267, that bright yellow-green machine of Siegel, making his way through, just kind of separating Perriott from Smith here for a matter of a couple corners. I expect him to sneak underneath Tim Smith right here into what is turn number 6. This actually might be compromising for that blue number 70. Watch out for Perriott to close it right back in.
Looked like there was a big bump on the outside of the line there that definitely upset the back of the car, but as much time as he lost, Jack still unable to sneak through. Oh, and this is a really awkward spot if you're Herback through the attitudes, and he is not exactly making way for him. He says, I got my own race to run here, buddy. Now cutting back underneath, it looks like Siegel has managed to find an opening and will get through. But look at what this has done for Tim Smith. He is now suddenly right back on the bumper of Greg Herback.
It totally put Herback on the back foot. That was typically not a passing opportunity going into the attitudes, and I don't think that Herback expected that one bit. So it definitely kind of evaporated what was a 20 car length lead between himself and that Blue Angel machine. And now coming up here, 10 seconds to go, coming out of the final corner, Joe. I'm not sure if they're going to get the white flag this lap. It doesn't look like it. 3 seconds is when he crossed the start finish line. So should be 2 more laps around this place.
Ooh, giving them some extra time to battle out there. That's bad news if you're Herback, but great news if you're Smith and Perriott. In fact, there goes Smith down the inside of turn 1. He hasn't been close to him all race long down into there. The first whiff of an opportunity, and he is grabbing it with both hands, but it switches back into Dreamboat for the inside. It doesn't matter. Long way around for Smith, and he is through into P2. Now Jack says, this is my opportunity. I'm going to try and at least get one car in this race down through Scream, and he's got it.
What a wonderfully read move from both of those racing car drivers. Herback was just on the back foot, maybe just a little bit rattled from our overall leader coming through. And all of a sudden, Tim Smith and Jack Perriott took advantage of it. But trust me, this race is not over. What can Tim Smith now do in clean air? Can he ditch out on Jack Perriott? Or is Jack going to stay right there and potentially even pass, threaten up there for second place overall in class? As it looks like we've got a really good battle. This is Blendon Hankins coming up on these Caymans.
Exactly. That's second overall in the Cup cars right now. So they have to navigate this battle of three for their positions while they're battling for overall position in their class. And they'll have about one lap to do it. If I'm Greg, I'm looking to these two cars to give me a chance.
Yeah, and here comes Blend. He's being forceful with the traffic. He's going to get by Herback. I think that he was a little bit anxious because you see Hankins directly behind here. He needs to be able to work his way up through this traffic. Otherwise, he himself is going to be under threat from that overall position. And now things really stacking up here in sector number 3.
You could see Jack wanted to try and get into there, and he takes his racing line, left a little bit of space down at the apex. Might see that car out accelerate him down the main straight, and there you go. I think this should be much easier. White flag is out. 1 lap to go. This could still play a part. There's our overall leader of Seagull.
Yeah, and he has just got to cruise it through. He's got a 9.5-second lead on everybody else on the front straightaway right now. I can see from some onboards, it is very, very busy in turn number 1. No positions have changed on the racetrack, though. It is still Blend over Hankins. In fact, here is that onboard camera picture-in-picture riding on board with this number 13. Oh, and then to the inside, more Cup cars. Man, it is getting busy on the last lap.
Yeah, I think that was Hankins that said, excuse me, pardon me, I'm trying to chase that guy, thank you. And is he going to slow up down into Black Rock? Tim Smith, it does look like it. That'll take him off the racing line. There was a gap there, but it is no more for Jack Perriott, and he has to stay put in third in the Caymans.
Yeah, but let's see what happens here. I'm watching on board as our leader is coming up through the attitude, so he's got about a third of a lap remaining here. But it looks like Tim Smith was able to accelerate out of that turn number 6 hairpin nicely. So focusing on this yellow number 267 out front, he has call it a handful of corners remaining to claim the first victory of the weekend.
Ooh, that was a big look into the first attitude there by Perriott, but couldn't get underneath there. As those two continue on their battle, 2 corners to go for Matthew Siegel, showing up and showing them how it's done here at Burt Brothers Motorpark. From the final corner, he is released to the victory here today. What a win from Matthew Siegel.
Great job to the driver and crew of that number 267 claiming the win. And look at how close it is between Blend and Hankins. Scott is going to hang on for that 992 Masters class victory. Hankins second in Pro-Am, and here comes our Caymans across the line. Tim Smith is going to finish second in Masters. Jack Perriott with your Cayman Pro-Am win. But Joe, you know what that means? It means Tom Rogers essentially has a victory lap.
Indeed. So he is going to be all on his own, the only Cayman to be able to complete every lap. Worth noting, Hankins and Hanley had swapped positions from earlier. So great job to Brannon, because that helps him to close in on that battle with Daniel Hanley. It'll be 1 point, I believe, between the pair of them after this race has been scored and made official. So congratulations also to Tim Smith. A podium finish was second. Herback going to be probably a little bit disappointed. He ran in that second spot all race, had to settle for 4th out of all the Caymans, but at least he still finishes with a 3rd within his class.
Yeah, let's watch the rest of these cars come across the line here. Looks like Larkins is finally going to be able to finish in that 2nd place in that Masters class, and Krigler coming across 7th, and really Joe just waiting for what is our Cayman Masters winner right now. Like I said, he had done that victory lap. He was the only Cayman class car to not get lapped by our overall leader. We're simply waiting for him to come around to finish today's race.
It looks like he is in the third sector now, and yeah, his team coming out to celebrate as well. I always love this. This really drives home how much of a team sport this is. All these guys and gals do everything they can to see victory lane, and today they will, as Tom Rogers makes it 4 in a row now. Really impressive stuff, as that will be the last of our finishers. So let's go through our unofficial results here today. Matthew Siegel, your winner, with Scott Blend second out of the 992s, but winner in the Masters. And the Pro-Am second place goes to Brandon Hankins, with third going to Daniel Hanley. Mark Wilgus, P4. James Larkins will wind up in second in Masters, and then fifth in the Pro-Am goes to Mark Krigler. What about our Cayman cars, Joey?
Yeah, taking home that Cayman Master victory was Tom Rogers in that number 44. Second in class was Tim Smith. In the Pro-Am class was Jack Perriott. He won that class and was, of course, third overall. So when we look at the Caymans as a whole, a wonderful day for that number 13 car. Greg Herback will round out the podium in that Masters class, finishing fourth overall. Henry Marshall finishing in fifth overall, and David Bradshaw rounding out our 6-car Cayman GT4 field here at the Motor Park.
And with that, we will be back shortly with our podium ceremonies for the first race of the weekend here at Burt Brothers Motorpark. Don't go anywhere.
It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
Experience the ultimate thrill, Porsche GT Track Day, where passion meets performance on some of North America's most legendary racetracks. Designed exclusively for Porsche owners, this is your chance to unleash the full potential of your vehicle in a motorsport environment. Drive the same circuits as professional racers, on the same weekend as Porsche Sprint Challenge events. Where will your Porsche take you? With limited space, every Porsche GT Track Day ensures a premium, exclusive experience. You'll get nearly 3 hours of track time, starting with reconnaissance laps, progressing through lead-follow sessions, and culminating in exhilarating open laps. Plus, strap in for heart-pounding hot laps with a professional race driver.
I thought I was fast. Didn't resemble anything that I've ever done.
Beyond the track, immerse yourself in VIP hospitality, premium viewing areas, and exclusive paddock access where you can witness Porsche Sprint Challenge teams in action. Spots are limited. Scan the QR code now to reserve your place at Porsche GT Track Day.
All right, it's time for podium ceremonies for race 1 here at Burt Brothers Motorpark. We're going to start it off with our Cayman Masters. Finishing in third today, it's the driver of the 49, Greg Herback. Then in second today, an excellent late race move got him up to P2, the number 70 of Tim Smith. And our winner today, driving the 44 and absolutely running away, Tom Rogers. Our interviews today going to be done by Cortu Josiah here.
Come up here by you, Tom. Before we take the photos, congratulations. Like they said on broadcast, a massive victory for you. You even had a little accident there, but you're still able to come away with a big win. How was that for you?
Oh, thank you. It was still challenging, making sure these guys, I know they're really hungry. And just being clean. As everybody know, I had a few errors throughout the weekend, so I was just trying to keep it clean. Still didn't manage it, but it fortunately had a little bit of a gap, so I was able to absorb that.
Yeah. Again, it's a home track for you, so was there added pressure of performing on your home track, or was it a case of, home field advantage for you?
Hell yeah. This has been the most nervous I have. Everybody expected to do well, and I struggled for the first few days and finally starting to put it together. Different car, new series, different rules, but great to be here with everybody that we know here, and thanks to Porsche and Burt Brothers and everyone else. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations again.
And now it's time for everybody's favorite part, spray the champagne. Now it's time for the Apexin Award. This goes to our hardest charger in the race, and today it's the number 70 of Tim Smith.
There
That now brings us to the 992 Masters category. Finishing in second today, driving the number 210, it's James Larkins. And our winner today, finishing in second overall in the 992 Cup Cars, it's the 245 of Scott Blend.
you go. Congratulations, Scott. Come up here next to you. Familiar spot for you up here on the podium. We've seen it a lot, but something a little different for you was this weekend was your car. I want to explain how that came to be.
Oh yeah, we're getting ready to go to Watkins Glen and then on to Montreal for Carrera Cup. So we didn't have time. So the whole entire team are fly-ins this week. So I'm a fly-in. My guys are a fly-in. And Bob Fayetta did a fabulous job. He hooked me up with a fantastic car. And yeah, we're here racing a rental car, and we're doing pretty good.
It just shows the talent you've got to get here and the team especially, I was talking to you guys in the garage, and they had said before that Scott will race anything Porsche allows him to get into, so that just kind of explains just the driver you are, right?
Yeah, we're on to bigger and better things, and I want to say, James and I, our class is a little unrepresented today, but I think we did a good job for all the other masters out there watching. So, and thank you to the pit crew, and they've just done an amazing job all year. So we're on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, congratulations, Scott.
And now our drivers get to spray the champagne. All right, now it's time for the Good Boy Vodka Fastest Lap Award. Today, that goes to our overall winner, the 267 of Matthew Siegel. Big congratulations to Matthew. Very, very fast today. And that takes us to our last podium of the day. It's going to be the 992 Pro-Ams. We're starting off with third today. Driving the 243, our points leader coming into this weekend, Daniel Hanley. And bringing the points gap to Hanley down to a single point, our second place finisher is the 295, Brandon Hankins. And finally, our winner today, an impressive showing up and displaying how it's done here. The 263 car, it's Matthew Siegel!
Congratulations, Matthew. Come up here next to you. Already up here for the fastest lap. This is your first race this year in this series. How was it for you?
It was fun. It's my home track, so it's nice to finally be able to do a pretty good sized event here.
Yeah, it was awesome. You performed really well. Is this something we'll see you more this season in?
Hopefully. I think that one's more up to my dad than me.
Yeah, well, I think if performances like this, he'll love seeing you up here. Congratulations.
And now we get to spray some champagne! Again, congratulations to our podium finishers today. We've got more action to come tomorrow as there's one more race to wrap up the weekend. Make sure and tune in at 11:15 a.m. Mountain Time for Race 2 of the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series.